Have you gone backwards on your New Year's resolution already? That new version of yourself that you promised you were going to be this year has suddenly transformed back into the old version of you. And you feel guilty about it. You feel like a failure because you haven't been able to stick to what you said you were going to. It's a position I've been in many times before, and not just in, a New Year cycle, but actually through the year as well. I would get bursts of motivation that I was going to change myself, change my identity, change my life, my body, my mental health, all of these things. And I would start trying to implement new habits, new ways of living, cut out bad habits. And perhaps for a couple of weeks, I would be able to do that. But sooner or later, I would fall back into my own ways, my old ways. And you may be feeling exactly the same. You started off the year strong. You perhaps decided you were going to get into the gym this year and change your body, get healthy. And maybe you've had that burst of motivation and you got in the gym a few times for the first few weeks and you felt really good about it. But before long, you were back in your old ways. The evening comes around, you've got home from work and you're tired. It's been a busy day. It's cold and dark and depressing outside. It is January after all. And you find that you just can't be bothered to go to the gym. You don't have it in you. You don't have the energy to do that. And you then start to fall down this slippery slope, and the self-doubt creeps in, the guilt creeps in for not sticking to this. And before long, you've given up on it entirely. And it's just this thing in the back of your mind that, this was going to be my year and I haven't been able to do it. I haven't been able to stick to it. Well, I'm here today to offer you a solution to that problem. A solution to the burnout that often comes with New Year's resolutions. And to tell you why you've perhaps found yourself in this place. Because I've been there myself many times before, and it is really frustrating and it gets you down. And so I've built a course, a 12-week reset system that I've used myself and I believe really will help you to get yourself on track. The link for that is in the description, and today I'm going to share with you some of the first week of that course. The first week is all about rest. And you may think that is a strange place to start when we look at trying to transform our life, trying to build new habits, new ways of doing things, shifting our identities. But I think rest is an often overlooked and somewhat despised thing these days. Hustle culture and all of the productivity gurus make us feel like we should be on all of the time, giving 100% in everything we do, constantly striving to improve, there's always more that you could be doing, always things on your to-do list that you haven't ticked off yet. And we end up finding that we're just living in this survival mode. And so when New Year's comes around and we get that little burst of motivation, it carries us through for a couple of weeks. But before long, we hit a wall, we hit a roadblock, and the burnout really starts to kick in. We're exhausted, and we then, having done a couple of weeks of these new habits, start to beat ourselves up and feel really guilty that we haven't been able to sustain that going forward. And it becomes this horrible, negative and quite vicious cycle of self-talk. We doubt ourselves, we get down on ourselves, we beat ourselves up for not being able to stick to these new habits that we perhaps wanted to form. And really, it's because we're trying to do it from a place of exhaustion. Oftentimes, we think that Christmas is a nice, restful period. But more often than not, by the time you've seen friends and family and socialised. You've probably had to travel somewhere as well to see someone, to go to an event. Any of that time that we had off over Christmas actually tires us out more probably than we would have been had we have been working. And so when we then start these new habits in January with that wave of motivation, we're actually doing it from a place of really feeling quite burnt out already. And so when we then strive to get into these new habits, these new resolutions, we're not doing it from a healthy place. We're not doing it from, a place of having energy, of having resources, of having the momentum that we need. You see, momentum is another thing that I think a lot of us overlook when it comes to building new habits, to doing those New Year's resolutions. We think we have to go all in and completely change who we are, our identity overnight. We go from someone who hasn't been in the gym for months or years to thinking, right, this is my year, I'm getting in shape, I need to be in the gym every day. Doing at least an hour in the gym every day, that will get me to my goal. And so we maybe do use that New Year's motivation and we crack on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month. And then that burnout catches up with us and we find ourselves living in survival mode. And the way to escape that is to just set yourself some less onerous goals. If you haven't been in the gym for a year or for months, trying to go from nothing to 6 times, 7 times a week for an hour each, that's not doable. You ain't going to do that. What you need to do is say to yourself, right, I'm going to get in the gym once this week for 20 minutes. That's achievable. That's a good realistic goal to strive for. Not the 6 or 7 times for an hour. Perhaps after doing that for a month, you then maybe can build up to being in the gym for 2 days a week, 20 minutes at a time. And build it up slowly. Use that momentum because your body has to adapt to it. And like any habit, you kind of have to build that momentum sustainably from the start. Trying to rush into completely transforming yourself overnight doesn't generally stick. I've never found it's worked for me, and it's probably the same for you. So give that a try. Take some rest. And then when you come back to trying to build your habits, make them realistic. Don't try and completely alter yourself overnight. Just do something small each day. In fact, that's what the whole simple living system is built around. Each week, it's really a simple, small habit that you can start to implement. And there are different difficulty levels to these habits. But if it's your first time running the course, I would suggest that you just stick with the novice. And so for exercise, for example, the novice level for that is just to do 5 minutes a day. And again, I say doing it every day, but even if you only manage to do 20% of the days, 40%, 60%, that's still better than doing 0%. So it doesn't really matter how much you do. It doesn't really matter how frequently you do it. As long as you're doing something that puts you a step closer towards your goal every week, that is enough. And over time, those changes will compound. You will have more space. The more time you take to rest, the more energy you'll have for building these habits going forward. And eventually, you'll get to a point where you are this completely different version of yourself that you've been striving for so long. You will have the body that you want. You will have that calm, clear clarity of thought. You will be, just a better version of yourself. But it doesn't come from sprints. It's a marathon. Life is a marathon. And trying to change your life in a sprint doesn't really work. I've never found it to work. And so that's why I built this course, because I would have really valued it several years ago when I was stuck in this cycle of not really getting anywhere in my life. You know, I would have this burst of motivation and then a big dip of burnout, a burst of motivation and a big dip of burnout. And really, I was just flatlining. I wasn't making any progress. It took me building these small habits every day, you know, looking at my body, my mind, my emotions, my spiritual life, my creativity, my diet, hydration, getting some fresh air every day, my sleep, sunlight, things like that, you know, really build the foundation of our life, but all too often we ignore. And so that's really what this course is about. It's what it will give you, is some simple foundational habits that you can build your life up from. So if you've found yourself in this place of burnout, survival mode, and feeling like a failure after having not met your expectations of yourself with your New Year's resolution, then this course is for you. And I think it will really, really help you to get to where you want to be in life. So as I say, it's linked down in the description. I'm sure it will really, really help you out. That's it for today. Thanks ever so much for watching. It really does mean the world. Drop me a subscribe if you aren't already, and perhaps a comment with what your New Year's resolution was and what progress you've made towards it, if any. Take care, and until next time, God bless.